Hi, everyone. Welcome again. Welcome to our fourth and final virtual training of the year for high school coaches. So just an introduction, my name is Katie Bivolan. I work at USTA Florida in the youth department as the high school and team play coordinator. So our main goal at USTA Florida is to offer any and all resources available for high school coaches in the state to have a good season. And the season is coming up, which is crazy. I feel like this year went by really fast, and it is going by really fast still. So we're looking forward to a great season. So I just would like to introduce Corey Sobers from FHSAA. Thank you again so much, Corey, for coming onto the call as a guest speaker. I think this will be a really great, informative call. So Corey has a great presentation about all things FHSAA, maybe some rules and regulations and commonly asked questions about the coming season. So Corey, if I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you, Katie. First of all, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Corey Sobers. I'm the FHSAA tennis administrator. I appreciate you attending this clinic and the other three that USTA Florida have offered. Just to jump into it, my first slide is really just my contact information. So it's got my email address and my extension number if you want to call the office and reach me that way. Either of those is fine. Email is probably a little bit easier because obviously I'm not going to be in the office all the time. But certainly you can reach out to me if you have questions or need clarification on anything throughout the school year, from now and anytime during the season. Important dates wise, I just want to point out, what I did not put on here was your first practice date. That is January 12th. Please be aware that the first practice date is the same as the first tryout date. So you should not be conducting any kind of tryouts before the first practice date. So your first practice date and your first tryout date are January 12th. Another thing I'd like to point out is your first regular season date is February 2nd. At that time, you should have all of your rosters entered into both home campus and max preps. So there's really no reason to start the season and not have a roster in. You're not going to be able to report your results in max preps appropriately without having a roster set up in max preps. So please make sure that those things are done by the time the regular season begins. We also do fine schools at a certain point if their rosters are not in. So I don't want to have to get into sending out fines to your athletic director, and then they're usually not very happy. They don't understand what the problem is. So please make sure by the first regular season date, you've got your rosters in. It doesn't have to be a complete roster. You can add or subtract from your roster throughout the season. If for some reason you want to move kids up and down from JV, or you get a kid in a winter sport that might be finishing up his winter season or her winter season and then comes out when they have a chance in the spring, those things are fine. But when the regular season starts and you start playing matches, you should have a roster. You should have a roster at that time. So please make sure you have your roster in both home campus and max preps. I have slides later on that can definitely address the max preps part of things. And you can always contact me if you need assistance with that. There weren't a ton of advisory committee updates this year. The only thing really was a suggestion that came from Dee about what to do with disputed calls when there's not an official present. A brief overview of how the advisory committee works. All of our sports that the FHSAA offers have an advisory committee. They're a group of coaches from different areas of the state that meet once a year, and they bring proposals on things to hopefully improve the sport in some way. It is a 2-year process to get any proposal passed and implemented. So there's the tennis advisory committee. They'll meet. They'll propose whatever they have to propose. Then we have an athletic directors committee which, as the name implies, is a group of athletic directors, and they will get the items from the tennis committee. They will meet about them, and then that process will then take place again the following year. So it's a 2-year process. If the proposals are endorsed by each of those committees both years, then we take it to our board of directors, and if our board approves it, then it gets implemented the upcoming season. So that's how the process works. If there's an item that does not get passed, then obviously it does not go forward, and it cannot be reintroduced for a minimum of 2 calendar years. So we've had that happen with a couple of our items in the past, but that's how the process works. In the absence of an official, what we would like to see, and let me be clear on this point, at no point are the coaches making the line calls. So even when you get to this point where both coaches go opposite ends of the net post, they're on the court, the players are still making the calls like they normally would. The only difference is if there's a dispute on the call and both coaches agree to something, then they can overturn a call. And that is the only way that a call gets overturned. The coaches can stay out there as long as they think it is necessary to dissolve the situation. Didi, do you want to add anything to that? Because I know this was something that you kind of brought up initially.
Yeah, I was just wondering, when you said that both coaches must agree on the overturn, but do the kids have to ask the coaches if the shot was good, if they thought it was good, or can they just, if they both see it, can they both do it at the same time?
Well, I would say the player should ask for, I mean, if the player is not arguing, then I think you just let the players play.
Yeah.
I mean, the coaches are not there to make calls or to call a ball out if the kid calls the ball in. That's not the coach's job.
Right.
The coach's job is if there is a dispute, then it can go to the coaches, and if they agree, then you overturn, and if they don't agree, it is what it is.
Okay.
And as somebody that's used it, have you used this, Didi, in
yeah, it hasn't. We've used it a couple times, and it hasn't been an issue. The kids settle down as soon as you're on the court.
Perfect. That's the whole goal of this.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the only thing that passed. That is, you're going to see that in the sport manual for the season. Everything else either needs to go through another year of read, or it did not pass. So that's the only change we have for the time being for this upcoming year. Your UTR team pages. So you have your home campus roster you need to do by the first regular season date. And then you have to have your UTR team page set up, and you need to have your Max Preps roster and results being entered throughout the season. Please set up your UTR team pages. Your Max Preps results on a weekly basis will then export over to UTR. So that's not a separate step that you'll have to make as far as reporting the results, but you do need to have your UTR team pages set up. So I think I have a slide later that has contact information for that in case you're having any difficulty. But please make sure, again, your Max Preps page and your UTR team pages are set up with your rosters published.
Can I add something quickly?
Yes, please.
I talked to Max Prep, both of them, and make sure that the kids' names are exactly the same on both websites. Otherwise, it won't get picked up.
Yeah, so we have a lot of situations where the names might be, one's a nickname and the other is the government name, or like if I'm using Katie as an example, one might be Catherine and one might be Katie. We need to have the same name in order for the results to transfer properly. And then in UTR, we don't want to have duplicate accounts with the same results, because that usually causes a problem. Then we got to get it merged and figure out who the correct person is. So that becomes a problem in postseason. So please make sure it's the same name going in to UTR that is in Max Preps. Off-season participation. This is just going over things. So the off-season is actually right now, as the definition on the slide shows. It's the period of time during the school year, but outside of the sports season. So that would be right now, and right now all the way up until January 11th. The things that you are allowed to do. Again, I touched on earlier, you should not be practicing or conducting tryouts till the first practice date. Well, there's other things that you shouldn't be doing until the practice date too. These are the only things that you should be doing right now with your tennis team, assuming that you have holdovers or kids that have expressed interest. These are the only things that you're allowed to do on this list. And let me touch on the off-season conditioning for a minute. I want to be very clear about what that entails. Conditioning is not teaching sport-specific skills. So you should not have tennis rackets, ball machines, tennis balls. You should not have any of those types of things for conditioning. That is practicing. Okay, so conditioning would be weight training, cardiovascular training, plyometric training. Those things are fine. Okay, but going on the court and putting cones out, putting discs out, breaking your racket out, and doing tennis-specific drills, tennis-specific skills is a violation. You should not be doing that in the off-season. Hopefully that part is clear. Where some people get a little confused, non-school teams and your school team is two different things. So if you're doing a USTA youth league, which is an outside entity with a published schedule of events, that is not a school team. So your non-school team probably shouldn't be Episcopal School of Jacksonville, and you're wearing Episcopal School of Jacksonville uniforms. That is a school team. If you have a separate team that the kids are playing on, okay, the coach can be involved if it meets the following requirements. So it has to be affiliated with an outside agency. That's the biggest thing. So in this example, I used USTA as the example. That would be an outside agency from your school. Have to have a published schedule from the outside agency. The team uniform cannot have the mascot or logo or school name that the coach is affiliated with. And that applies for both the student athletes and the coaches. The fee should be made to or from the outside agency. You shouldn't be using school transportation to get to these competitions. Again, it is a non-school team. Should not be doing that. You should not be promoting the results or promoting the competitions on your school's social media. Okay, these things cannot be mandatory in order for participation on your school team. Okay, there are clear, distinct delineations between your non-school team, if you choose to coach in a non-school capacity, and your school team. You need to make sure that they are separate. Amateurism, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I know some of you have athletes that you may or may not have athletes that are high-level athletes. They may participate in major junior tournaments or things of that nature. Please be aware, again, competing for money, if they're in a tournament and there's a prize, they need to have some kind of affidavit that they're not accepting money if they happen to advance far enough to earn anything. They should not be receiving money, or that would certainly be a violation of their amateur status, and that would make them ineligible for a period up to a year. NIL, we now have a policy on that. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds there, but again, there's certain things that you cannot have you can't be associated with gambling or an NIL collective or tobacco, alcohol. There's certain things that you're not going to be able to be involved with if you have some kind of a student with an NIL deal. So they need to be in compliance with those types of things. If you have questions, you can reach out to me directly and with more specifics, and we can go through them if we need to. But inevitably, every year, once we get near the postseason, all of a sudden, our office start receiving allegations of, oh, this kid played in this tournament and he was trying to get money and blah, blah. And so, again, if you have higher level athletes that are going to be in these outside tournaments, they cannot play for money. They cannot accept prize money. That's going to become an issue, and people love to wait until the last second when it means the most to then start reporting those things. So please make sure your student athletes understand that. Katie, go ahead, please.
It looks like we have a few questions here too.
Oh, we did. I'm sorry.
Right?
With the, 1,000 years ago when I was with USTA, the juniors could accept the expense money, but not the prize money. Is that okay with FHSAA?
Yes, expenses
Okay.
up to a certain value. Yes.
Right. Okay.
And Corey, if they do that, they don't have to show an affidavit for that or anything. They have to show proof that they did that, right?
I would suggest having proof. Your minimum match requirements. So once we get into the regular season, first of all, the preseason matches do not count into this. So this is only regular season matches, your conference matches that take place during the regular season. That's what plays into this. Please be aware that if you're playing a dual match, which is one school versus another school, you're playing singles and doubles within the same match does count as 2 matches for the individual student athlete. Each student athlete, to be eligible for districts, has to compete in a minimum of 7 matches. Compete means you stepped on the court, there is a result from that match with a score entered into Max Preps. Okay, you have to have 7 of those. I want to be clear on this point. There are 5 singles matches and 2 doubles matches in an FHSAA tennis match. So if you've got 7 players and your 6 and 7 are playing the other school's 6 and 7 on the side, I'm not overly concerned about policing that, although technically that's not really allowed, but I'm not worried about really policing that part. They can get the experience, that's fine. However, those matches do not count as part of their 7. The only ones that count as part of the 7 count toward the team score. So if you're the number 7 singles player and you're not in the actual lineup that is exchanged between the coaches, those matches don't count. I don't care if you played on the side against the other team's number 8. That does not count. If you want to have those kids available in the district tournament and beyond, you need to find matches for them during the regular season, and they need to be part of the actual lineup. And if you don't, then you don't have to. I mean, you only need 5 players to be eligible as a team. So that's up to you as a coach. If you want to have 7, 8, if you want to have alternates for districts and you want to have 7, 8, 9 kids available, it is possible to do that. It is challenging, sure, but it is possible to do that. You can get your 7 matches for your top 5 in 14 matches. So that's a choice you have to make as a coach. How many players you want eligible for districts, but they have to actually step foot on the court, play in matches that count toward the score, toward the team score, and then those results must be entered in the Max Preps. If you have people will claim, they played JV matches. Okay, well, if you played JV matches, you need to have a JV team set up in Max Preps, a JV roster set up in Max Preps, and JV results in Max Preps. That's done the same exact way as the varsity is. So if you're considering those matches JV, I know some people have liberal interpretations when it gets to their 6, 7, 8 kids, but if that's what you're doing, you need to have a JV roster, JV team, and JV results that are separate from the varsity. As far as entering your roster in Max Preps, I will send out information about this closer to the season start. Your contact, if you have any questions for this, is Mr. Aaron Hendricks at Max Preps. His email address is there in the slide. Those of you that I assume most of you probably have been through this process before, but once you get signed in, you have to register. Once you're signed into your team page, the steps are here. I'm not going to read them to you. I think it's relatively self-explanatory. Again, I will send out a list of instructions that will walk you through the process of setting up your roster and how to enter scores. And then if you have questions, you can reach out to me or Aaron, and we can certainly help you with that if you need it. Katie, if you want to go to the next slide. Okay, so this is how you enter your schedule. And then I believe the next slide will be about how you enter your results. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that, but again, just make sure the team result as far as the match score needs to be entered. So if you've got 5 singles matches, 2 doubles matches, we won 5-2. Okay, you need to have the team result in, but then each individual match needs to have results, and it needs to be the players that specifically played at each line with individual results. So I know Coach Beard was here. He's at Lake Nona. Lake Nona, I want to say off the top of my head, I think they're the Lions. Coach Beard, I hope I'm saying that right. If you don't have your roster set up and you just put in scores, it's going to say Lions line 1, Lions line 2, Lions line 3. Your student athletes are not getting credit for that. Nobody's getting credit for those results. You have to have your roster entered, and the specific player that played on each line needs to be entered with the result from the match. So please make sure at the end of the season, when we get to the seeding meeting before districts, coaches will definitely be looking, and they should be able to find 7 matches for all of your kids in Max Prep listed.
We do have a question from Dee Dee. Max
Sure.
Preps has a separate area for both varsity and JV. UTR is apparently one big roster. Is that still true?
Definitely Max Preps has separate for JV and varsity. That's 100% true. I believe UTR is only set up for one team page. Yes. I think that's accurate. So you're going to need to put all of your JV and varsity kids on your UTR team page. Yes. Here's the UTR slide. So when I referenced the UTR team page, there was a link to it. Again, I'll send out more information about this and the specifics of it leading up to the tennis season. But your contact, if you have any UTR related questions, would be Mr. Jonathan Hicks. His email address is there. He's extremely responsive. From my experience, usually within like 10 minutes, typically he'll have replied to you. So he's very good about responding very quickly and helping you out. That's the general information that I had today. Again, there's my contact information. Don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have questions. I think I've heard from a few of the people on this that I see here. I've already heard from them in the last couple weeks. So please don't hesitate. I am available. I will get back to you usually within 24 hours at least. So bear with me if I take a little bit longer. I try to respond right away, but I do have other sports going on. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me now. Or if you think of them later, or if you're more comfortable asking me in a one-on-one setting or something like that, you can certainly give me a call or shoot me an email, and we can discuss it then. But that's all I had as far as presenting, and now it's the floor's kind of open for you guys.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Corey. It looks like Bob Davis has a question. Bob, if you'd like to come off mute.
Okay, thanks, Katie. Corey, are there any FHSAA rules on homeschooled players? I'm kind of thinking about the competitive level at state championships, and some schools have restrictions on allowing homeschool players to play. Is that primarily left up to the schools, or are there FHSAA rules as well, if you know?
Okay, so all I can tell you is what is allowed. Okay, so based in the FHSAA handbook, a legally registered home education student can participate at a public school in the school district where they reside, a charter school, a private school that will accept them. So home education students have a lot of options. Now, what you were talking about is, well, some schools will accept them, some schools won't. That's left up to the local area on that. Okay. But as far as what is in state statute and what is in our handbook, if they're a home education student, they have about as much freedom as you can possibly have.
So
as long as they could properly, they can participate just about anywhere that would accept them.
In public or private schools. Okay.
Public, private, charter, or a home education. Like I think there's a Tampa Bay Heat, and there's a couple teams that are only home education students. They can do that as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then it looks like Taylor had a question as well.
Hey, Corey. Just want to make sure I heard you right. Did you say that you shouldn't be doing like ladder drills for general conditioning?
I would say ladder drills is okay.
Okay, so like that and hurdles, like that's okay. It's not anything with a ball or racket.
You're not doing track, so I'd say hurdles is okay. If you were doing track, I'd say hurdles is not okay.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Coach Davis, did you have something?
Corey, it actually related to the previous slide that had a bullet on review of film. And
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure I understood the scope of that. If I'm on a tennis team and I want to review a match with a player, does that encompass that kind of a review?
That would be appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
That would be a part of reviewing film. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem.
Can I ask a question? I apologize. It's Tom
Sure,
Beard at
Coach
Lake
Beard.
Nona.
No, don't. Yeah.
So, I coached basketball a million years ago, and we used to have open gyms where there's no coaching, just you let the kids play. They're like for insurance purposes, basically. Is that okay to have open courts that anyone interested can come and play from the school? No coaching, just go ahead.
Yes, you can still have open gym, open courts. Yes, but that should not just be the tennis team out there on open court.
Open to anyone.
Right. You can have it if it's open to the entire school and it's not specific to the tennis team. Yes, you can do something open like that. Again, still not sports specific stuff, still not coaching, but yes, you can do that. Yes, Coach Beard.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Liz, if you want to also ask the question, you're more than welcome to as well.
Sure. So like on the off-season play, does the agency have to be a nonprofit agency, third party, to oversee the program for the high school, or is it going to be any agency that runs programming that's profit?
No, I don't think it doesn't necessarily have to be nonprofit. No.
Okay. Thank you.
We also had a couple questions submitted with the registration of this training. So just looks like a few here. I'll go down the line for you. First question was answered. How many school matches will be required for students to qualify districts? The answer was 7.
While we're on that, yes, the answer is 7. But I do get this question a lot, so I guess I'll address it here. It does not matter if those matches are singles or doubles. 7 doubles matches is 7. Any combination of singles and doubles is 7. As long as you have 7 matches with results, it counts. It does not matter if those 7 matches are district matches or not, or if they're conference matches or not. So you can play 7 teams outside of your district. That still meets the requirement if you got to 7 matches. District matches and non-district matches, they all count towards your minimum. So I want to be clear on that.
So Corey, can I ask you a question on that real quick? Because I have that question too sometimes in our programming, where could it be a doubles match and a singles match within the same teams playing each other? Like if you're playing one doubles and one singles. Okay.
That would count as 2 matches for the student athlete.
2 matches. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I see another hand, but I don't see the name.
Yes, Jamie. It looks like she has her hand up.
Yeah, my question was, we have a lot of schools that we compete against that don't have UTR, and it takes forever to convince them to do the UTR. And so our matches don't get transferred over from Max Preps, and we can't enter them into UTR because we have no team to go against. How do we do that?
We need to stay on them about that. I think hopefully starting with your district leader, that needs to be, or whoever's hosting your district tournament probably needs to take the lead with that, because they're the ones that are going to need that information when we're making sure lineups are legal for the seating meeting. So I would say start with your district tournament host. Whenever you guys have your district meeting and you select the host, I would say at that time, you probably need to emphasize, hey, make sure you have your teams in Max Preps. Now, on my end, I certainly will be emailing everybody and providing the information, but you guys on a local level, I think I would say you guys are the first point of contact with that. I mean, keep in mind, we have four 4 classes, 16 districts in every class. So it's hard for me individually to make sure that all 64 districts and every school in all of those districts, has their UTR set up. That's not something that I can check on a daily basis and make sure it's happening. So I would say start with the district host. If we get a few weeks into the season and, hey, I'm trying to put in results and this school doesn't have UTR in, I certainly can reach out to those schools directly and give them a nudge. But it's hard. You're right. You're never going to get, at least from what I've seen so far, 100% compliance from day one. So it's something that we're all going to have to be vigilant in, continuing to address throughout the season so that it's not a circus come district tournament time.
Great. Thank you, Corey. This question came up a lot, just general question about how FHSAA determines the district lines. So more specifically, are there any particular requirements besides school size and geographic location? For example, do they take in consideration competitive parity?
Okay. The short answer to that question is no. We don't take into account anything about how good or not good certain schools are. It is strictly, we literally take the enrollment of every school that is offering a program, we divide it by 4 by enrollment, and then we group those 4 different groups. Once we have the dividing lines, we group them geographically as best we can and try to have the number of schools in each district be reasonably close to each other. It won't be perfect because we have an imperfect state size and shape. So sometimes in certain areas of the state, it's more dense. We have a lot of schools in the metropolitan areas that are close together, whereas if you're in the Panhandle, North Florida, the Keys, everything's going to be a lot more spread out in those areas. So it's not always going to be everybody has exactly the same number of schools. We try to take into account the distance as well that these schools would have to travel to be in the same district. But it is entirely on geography and your school enrollment currently.
Perfect. Thank you.
But we are looking into, and this is not for tennis specifically, this is as a whole with all of our sports. We have discussed if we need to change something about how we do it, maybe have a competitive aspect to it. Those talks are ongoing. So right now, I think they're talking about those in the team sports. Tennis is not considered a team sport, although we have a team championship and there is a team versus team component. It's still individual versus individual and counting points toward a team. But I think once we get the team sports figured out, I think the individual sports would follow after. So it is something that's being looked at and discussed internally. But as of now, the level of competition is not considered in the districting. Didi, I hear you. Right now, that is not considered in the districting. But your point is taken. I understand where you're going with that.
Awesome. We had one last question from the registration.
Sure.
With districts with 8 or more schools, should there be a minimum requirement of at least 8 courts in order to be a host site?
If you're asking my personal opinion, yes. But I don't know who is willing to host in your district or what facilities you have available to you. And so without knowing that, it's hard for me to put a hard and fast rule on that. Yes, I think you can run a more efficient tournament if you have at least 8 courts. Yes, and especially when you're considering there's 2 genders and singles and doubles going on. Absolutely. But again, I don't know in that area who's willing to host, what facilities do they have available. That's something that is different depending on where you're located. So I would advise that, but I cannot demand that, if that makes sense.
So it's not a regulation. They have to have a specific amount.
No.
Okay.
All right. Does anyone else
But it
have
would
any
be-
questions?
But it obviously would be in everybody's best interest.
But I think that's a statewide issue. We definitely deal with that. Just hard to find courts in general. I think a lot of high schools also deal with that issue. So, yeah, from the USTA Florida side, we do what we can with what we have available. Absolutely. So, well, thank you so much, Corey, again. This was a great meeting. I think this was our longest meeting. So some great questions, some great information. So here is our page with some QR codes, links to our USTA Florida homepage, as well as the USTA Florida Foundation page. That's where you'll find all about grants and about the foundation grants for high school coaches. We also had a recording on that as well, which was very great. And then on the left side is my contact card. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. And then, of course, Corey as well has volunteered to that as well. So thank you so much again. So if no one has any other questions, we'll be concluding the call today.
No questions, but I want to thank you guys for your attendance, your attentiveness, your questions, and being willing to get the information. Again, if you have any questions at any point in time, don't hesitate to reach out to me, whether it's tennis season or not. I'm happy to hear from you guys and get an idea of what's going on from boots on the ground. So thank you for what you do, and I'm sure we'll be in touch here in the not too distant future.